Welcome to the George C. Marshall Center's Strategically Speaking. This podcast series explores the future of NATO in an era of global change. Join us as experts shed light on the challenges and evolution of the Atlantic Alliance. Stay tuned for insightful discussions on international security and NATO's path forward.
A warm welcome to the Marshall Center's podcast series on NATO at 75, the future of the Atlantic Alliance in tumultuous times. I am Fritz Rademacher, Professor of International Security.
And I am Piotr Nieć, Rear Admiral in Polish Navy, seconded to the Marshall Center.
In today's session, which we are recording on 4 March 2024, we are talking to 4 Marshall Center alumni who are presenting the results of their research as part of our Alumni Scholar group project on NATO after Vilnius, the way ahead. The Marshall Center, in addition to its individual alumni scholarships, offers groups of alumni scholars the opportunity to pursue, with the help of Marshall Center faculty members, specific research on issues of mutual interest. It provides the participating alumni an opportunity to achieve their professional development and to advance their individual careers. This research project on NATO after Vilnius started as a discussion during the seminar on regional security held at the Marshall Center in the spring of 2023, when a group of participants expressed their interest in working on NATO issues. It addresses important questions of Euro-Atlantic security and defense and contributes to the wider debate on the future of the Atlantic Alliance at a critical time for our shared security and international peace and stability.
The Alumni Scholar Group project is being pursued by the Marshall Center in close cooperation with the Doctrine and Training Center of the Polish Armed Forces. Currently, we are holding our final conference here at the Marshall Center. In 7 sessions, participants and experts are addressing a broad range of issues of direct importance to NATO after its summit last year in Vilnius, as well as focusing on the summit meeting to be held in Washington, D.C. in July. The first conference, hosted by our Polish cooperation partners, took place at the Central Military Library in Warsaw, Poland in late November last year. The results of the projects will be published ahead of the Washington summit.
Let me now turn to Anna Tido from Estonia, who is joining us to talk about a very important topic on the Alliance's agenda as it is approaching its anniversary summit in Washington, namely Ukraine's path to NATO membership. Anna, you have taken a close look at how NATO deals with accession and with Ukraine's aspirations in mind in particular. Please tell us more.
Hello, my name is Anna Tido. I'm from Estonia, and I'm very glad to participate in this alumni project at the Marshall Center. After completing the course last year, we were really excited to learn a lot about security policy around the world. And of course, we met very nice friends, which we now meet again, and that is the empowerment we have. And as well, career-wise, as I deal with transatlantic relations, it's important for me to be able to participate in the discussions. And as you know, the project is called From Vilnius to Washington, and this is the way we can discuss this important topic about NATO. And as far as my chapter is concerned, I concentrate on Ukraine. And this is a very hard topic because we actually do not know what the deliverables of the Washington summit will be. And me, myself, I cannot decide upon them. I'm just listening to many discussions there are. That's why I decided to concentrate on something Ukraine can do to be ready for NATO. And as we learned during the course, a lot has been said about strategic competition between superstates and big powers. And my point is that Ukraine is actually the state who has its own opinion and agency. And while fighting the war, it's also concentrating on the important reforms I describe in my chapter. And I also connect these reforms to those of the European Union because the processes are actually in parallel. I bring the example of the Baltic states who joined in 2004, both the European Union and NATO. And this is why it's also important for Ukraine to make reforms at home and be ready. I also bring two case studies about the fight against corruption, which is very important for the society of Ukraine. And we see that many reforms are already on the way. The other example is the case study of national minorities and relations with Hungary. There have been some positive developments as well, but it remains to be seen how it goes on. And I suggest as my recommendation that the reforms which Ukraine does for the European Union and NATO are quite similar, and that's why better coordination could be on the way for these two organizations. But it's also very important for me that Ukraine will get the invitation to join NATO. I know it's not on the cards right now for the Washington summit, but it would be a very big boost for reforms as well. And it will not mean the immediate membership of NATO, but sort of as the European Union does, the accession talks will start, and as soon as the war is over, Ukraine is ready for NATO. So this is the gist of my paper, and I hope it is interesting to read. Slava Ukraini!
Let me now turn to Justyna Slenita, who is presenting her paper on strengthening deterrence and defense at NATO's northeastern flank. Justyna, I particularly liked your paper's subtitle, Keep Calm and Plan for the Worst. I think keeping calm and preparing for any eventualities is exactly what the Alliance needs to do in current unpredictable and demanding times. Please tell us about the findings of your research and as well about your experience with George C. Marshall Alumni Project.
You are good to go whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Justyna Slenita. I'm coming from Lithuania. For me personally, this George Marshall European Center for Strategic Studies Alumni Project was an inspirational as well as very enriching experience. In my professional life, I do not deal every day with these issues discussed in the paper, so firstly, it was a great opportunity to expand my knowledge on these crucial issues. I also enjoyed flexing my academic muscles, which had been lying quite idle for some time already. And of course, this project provided me with stunning possibilities to learn from esteemed experts of these topics, to learn and discuss different points of view, in other words, to engage in lively academic discussions. All of these will surely help me out in my professional life, and I'm indeed very grateful to the GCMC for this opportunity. My paper is called Keep Calm and Plan for the Worst, Strengthening Deterrence and Defense of NATO Northeastern Flank. In the run-up to the NATO Washington summit, in my paper, I focus particularly on Russia as the most significant and direct threat for the alliance. I attempted to stress the message of sense of urgency for the alliance and the allies. With Russia continuing its war against Ukraine, increasing its military capabilities despite its losses, threatening Western countries, its neighbors, it is going to be a long-term threat for the alliance. In this regard, strengthening deterrence and defense of northeastern flank is crucial. From decisions made in Madrid in 2022 to the ones in Vilnius last year and a way forward to the upcoming stock-taking in Washington, I discussed what has been already done and what needs still to be done in order to strengthen NATO's deterrence and defense posture, with the focus on the northeastern flank, where the Russian threat is felt most acutely. I also write about the arrangements of German-led brigade in Lithuania and possible lessons learned for other potential host and framework nations. So though the Washington summit will also be of anniversary one, the current security environment dictates that it must be much more than that. Thank you.
Our third alumni scholar with us today is Leon Runie from Croatia. He analyzes the defense industrial base of NATO countries during the period of 1990 and 2022, a topic of great relevance as allies are attempting to ramp up production of battle-decisive munitions. Leon, you will present your findings later today, so I don't want to ask you about them now. But tell us at least why did you choose this topic, and share with us your impressions about the research program organized by the Marshall Center.
So the research program, the Marshall Center Alumni Scholars program, NATO after Vilnius, the way ahead, has the stated goal of conducting academic research related to the conclusions of the NATO summit in Vilnius and generating recommendations geared towards the upcoming Washington summit. The main strength of this project, which is headed by Professor Rademacher, is the fact that it brings together colleagues from various backgrounds and countries. This means that the project allows for the integration of different insights and points of view, the intersection of different perspectives, primarily from various MFA and MOD institutions, as well as different national perspectives, greatly enriches the contribution provided to the project by individual participants. The research group includes the GCMC alumni and selected faculty members from the United States of America, Lithuania, Romania, Estonia, Poland, Slovenia, and Croatia. During our first live event on the 27th of November, we made significant progress in exploring and outlining our papers and policy recommendations in various areas. These include topics like the transformation of the alliance, NATO's posture on its eastern flank, and the future of NATO's collaboration with partners outside of the North Atlantic area. And this is to name just a few. This was done with the help and feedback provided by discussants who are mainly current and former NATO officials. The project is now continuing with the second stage, with our visit with our return to the Marshall Center, where we once again have a chance to exchange opinions, views, and insight with our mentors. So the lasting impressions left upon me with participating in this project is that I have entered a rich policy community which combines the aspects of intellectual curiosity, typical of academia, the practical insights characteristic of public service decision-making, as well as the diversity of backgrounds you can find usually at a diplomatic conference. I would also maybe say just a few words about my research topic, which focuses on NATO burden sharing and defense industrial base development. I chose this topic because I consider it to be a key issue in the current situation where globalization has been brought into question, where support for Ukraine is a key issue facing many allies, and where this challenge that we are now facing is actually calling into question some economic models which we have been grown accustomed to during the past 30 years. I will be presenting my findings soon, so I'm looking forward to the reaction by the staff and the mentors, and looking forward to productive feedback which will help me to augment my research before we finally publish it in a few months.
Last but certainly not least, Michaela Mendrescu from Romania is also with us today. Michaela, we have already been working together at NATO in the past, and it is such a privilege to have you participate in our project. You have been looking specifically at security in the Black Sea region and what more NATO and allies could do in this rather volatile part of the Euro-Atlantic area. Please share your thoughts with us.
Thank you for your kind words, Professor, and thank you for having me. In my article titled Black Sea Security in the Context of Russo-Ukrainian War, Navigating the Path to the Washington Summit, I examined the profound implications of Russia's aggressive actions, hybrid warfare tactics, and disruptions to the international order on the Black Sea region. Throughout my article, I stressed the strategic importance of this region for Euro-Atlantic security, while I underlined the urgency of the situation as the brutal war in Ukraine, now in its third year, unfolds practically on NATO doorstep. I also commend the pivotal roles played by allies such as Bulgaria, Romania, and Turkey, as well as the contributions of aspirants like Georgia, Ukraine, and Republic of Moldova in ensuring the security of the region. Highlighting the potential for escalation, I present a concrete example. The series of missiles and drone strikes on Ukrainian Danube River ports, Reni and Ismail, occurring between July and October last year, at 200 meters from Romania-Ukrainian border. And I argue that these incidents underscore the risk of spillover into NATO territory. In presenting solutions, I advocate for a comprehensive NATO strategy tailored to address the unique challenges of the Black Sea region. In my opinion, such a strategy should include concrete measures aimed at mitigating threats and ensuring security and stability. Anticipating the forthcoming Washington summit, I argue that it presents a pivotal opportunity to formulate and endorse a strategic framework that addresses defense gaps and consolidates the security in our region. Finally, I underscore the significant role and steadfast commitment of the United States in countering Russian aggression and fostering security and stability in our region. Legislative initiatives such as National Defense Authorization Act and the Black Sea Security Act, alongside strategic actions such as substantial troop deployments, exemplify this commitment. In conclusion, my article serves as a comprehensive analysis of the Black Sea security, urging collaborative efforts and proactive strategies to effectively navigate the ever-evolving security landscape. Being part of this project means a lot to me for several reasons. Firstly, it offers a platform to share my perspective on a topic that really matters to me. Secondly, even though my current focus is on cybersecurity, I remain a NATO enthusiast at heart. Therefore, being part of this project allows me to stay connected to the NATO world and agenda. And lastly, I feel privileged to remain in contact with the knowledgeable professors and fellow alumni from the George Marshall Center. I consider that exchanging ideas among us, sharing stories, and learning from each other's perspectives adds value to this project, while enriching the overall discourse on regional security matters. Thank you.
This brings us to the end of this podcast session. Let me thank our participants for sharing their valuable insights with us today. I should also like to commend all of them for their dedication to our project and the great work they have been doing over the past months. We are looking forward to the publication that we are preparing with our cooperation partners from the Doctrine and Training Center of the Polish Armed Forces. It will come out ahead of the NATO summit in Washington. So, dear followers of our podcast series, please watch the space and don't miss it, nor our next sessions with senior alliance and allied officials in the weeks to come. We have some very interesting interlocutors in the pipeline for you. Until the next time, goodbye from us, Fritz Rademacher
and Piotr Nieć.
Thank you for joining us on Strategically Speaking, presented by the George C. Marshall European Center for Strategic Studies. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of the George C. Marshall Center, the U.S. Department of Defense, or the U.S. government. We hope today's episode provided valuable insights into NATO's role in today's world. For more content, visit our website at www.marshallcenter.org. Join us next time for more on the unfolding story of NATO.